Hi, it's Laura Darcy from lauradarcyart.com. Thank you for joining us. Today we're going to do a fun video, and it's lots of fun because it's for a baby's room, and I had a lot of fun painting it. I use acrylic paints. One or two of them are heavy bodied, and the bulk of them are fluid acrylic. And the reason I point that out and pay attention to it today is because I found that mixing the fluid with the heavy bodied paint ended up giving me a texture that I could play with. And I played with it because when I was using stencils, and I use stencils a lot in this project, the texture, the body of the paint that I was using had something to do with the amount of detail that I was able to get from the stencil. Sometimes I wanted more detail near the end. I was trying to give an impression, and I wanted more detail. Other times I didn't and wasn't interested in as much detail. So you'll see that. So that was one factor that influenced the amount of detail I was getting. There's another factor, and that was the brush that I was using. Initially, I started using a brush that I had purchased from another artist I found. His name is Sterling Edwards, and it's a blending brush, and it is such a beautiful brush. I use it a lot. I use it in the beginning when I'm blending some of the colors, and oh, it does a beautiful job. And then another brush I used, be forewarned that this was a round brush. It was not an expensive brush. I don't use expensive brushes, but I use it more in a downward tapping fashion. And by the time I was done, pretty well the brush was gone. Kind of ruined is a better word to use. And I don't really mind. I do a lot of stenciling, and I'll use that brush again to do stenciling, but just be forewarned, if you have a precious brush that you don't want to damage, then don't use it for that kind of stenciling. It was important to me though when I was getting detail, because it allowed me to get into all of the spaces that I wanted to in order to create the amount of detail that I was looking for, especially near the end of the project. So this was fun also because it's for a baby, and I used a nice warm sage. In the beginning, when I started putting the colors together, I was kind of really getting into it and some of the texture I was creating, and I went, oh wait, we're going down a very fun path, but not the path I wanted to go down for a baby's room. So we end up with a really nice minty, sagey green. And when I was applying some of the stencils, you'll see I changed the value and the tone of the color. And sometimes when I first laid it down, it almost looked like a toile. It was really a lot of fun to do, and gave me a bunch of ideas for using stencils in the future. So I hope you learn a lot during this video that you can use in your own painting. It is a tutorial. I do fast forward through some of the parts of this so it doesn't get overly tedious. If you want to slow it down, go ahead and do that. Most importantly, I would really appreciate some feedback. If you could leave your comments in below. If you have thoughts during the video, or things that you'd like to see more of or less of, something that helped you, I would really appreciate the feedback if you could take a few minutes to do that. If you have a question, I will get back to you. So please do that. Hit the like button, come back off, and thank you. Thanks for coming and watching the video. See you soon. Hi, here's the mama and baby bear, the gift that was given to the mama to be, and it's currently hanging in the baby's bedroom waiting for the baby to arrive. So let's take a look at some of the things we used to create this painting. I used Nicholas Wilton paints. They are fluid acrylics. I use them a lot. and that was sage green. We've got some Lila's white, which is a white to which some yellow yellow light and yellow ochre, I believe, have been added to the white. Really makes a beautiful, beautiful glowing white. Here's some yellow medium. I use that just a little bit. I use more of the yellow light in this particular painting, and here it is. Again, Nicholas Wilton Art to Life paints. They're great paints. And some heavy-bodied paints, the white and the black. The black is used to change values, and the white is used to tone the color down, change the tone of the color, I should put it that way. Here's my blending tool from Sterling Edwards. Here's the brush I ruined while I'm stenciling. And here's a flat brush and a round brush that I use when I'm painting the mama and baby bear. A little tool I use to move the water on the canvas, and then the pencil I use to draw the mama and the baby bear. Just as a matter of course, here you're not going to see the full palette, which is off to the left of the screen. And I apologize for that. I just didn't quite capture it all. What I use on my palette it's an old cafeteria tray. I lay down a couple of paper towels. I spray them with water to keep the paint moist. And then I lay down tracing paper over that. And that's what I use for my palette. Here, this is a 12 by 12 canvas, and I'm just spreading water on the front of it. I've also sprayed the back of it, hoping that it will kind of tighten up as that water dries. And I always use a lot of water in my paint. So I've sprayed the front of this, and I've started laying down sage green, a very, very pretty color. I like this color a lot. I've added some black to it here to gray it up a little bit. And I'm going to combine these colors. I'll also add a little bit of yellow and blend this all together. And you will see as we progress here that I get to that place where I think I've gone down the wrong path for a baby's room. So that'll pop up here in just a matter of seconds as we continue to apply some paint. There's the yellow medium. I'm using that brush just to blend these colors. That gets better and better as you use the brush repeatedly. It really blends those colors beautifully. And originally I was adding that darker color in the yellow to actually add bright and darker spots to create some depth, which I think it does. And then I do a little spray, sprinkle some water on the surface, and pick up a paper towel, spray that a little bit, and then you'll see it. I'll dab that on the surface of this painting, and it creates wonderful texture. Really, really love it, which I don't end up using in this particular painting. Just included that to show you, number one, you can create wonderful, wonderful texture in your background in this method. But as I look at it, I'm deciding, no, those aren't the colors, and that's not what I was going for in this painting. So I'm going to change my mind here. I look at it a little bit and I go, okay. And I dry it. So we're back. Here I go. I'm spraying down some more water. And what I'm going to do is layer a lot of sage green on top of this, so I get that more of a gentle color that I'm looking for. There goes some of that Lila's white. And this is getting a lot closer to where I was going with this. I'm going to try add a little texture here again with that paper towel. You can see I'm fiddling a bit, drying, and it's like, no, 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 no. Here I go. I'm just laying down that sage right on top of those layers. And it does work out. It comes out pretty cool. And that blending brush helps a lot. You know, that's a little buttery yellow that I added in. I created it with the Lila's White and some of that yellow medium. It's really a pretty yellow. Very gentle. And I guess I was going for that. A lot of gentle. And here I'm adding a little black to that sage green, just to get a little different value into that color. And I'm going to start stenciling. And it's kind of an up and down with the brush. You know, you're kind of tapping it into the spaces so that you lay the paint where you want it. I love this particular stencil. I love the pattern that it leaves. And this, you'll see, creates that eventual, that pattern that I said was reminding me of toile. If you've ever seen that in a fabric, I think it's so pretty to look at. And I do clean off this stencil from time to time because it can get paint on both sides, and you don't want to lay down color where you don't want it. It's a lot of work doing these stencils, so you got to be careful you're getting that paint where you want it. Dry. So now we can add some more paint over this, and I'm experimenting here with lightening up a certain area of the space down there, thinking that it'd be nice to have the mother bear and the baby bear kind of lightened up. And I do this a little bit, and then I get to the point where it's like, okay, just tone it down a little bit. I've added a little light in between the stencils, and wasn't as happy with it as I thought, so I've just added a little lighter stenciling, and to me, that added the light I was looking for. Here's that space where I was saying I'm being less detail-oriented than I've been in some of my other spaces, so I'm just kind of laying down light more than I am going for detail with this particular phase of stenciling. And I am using the white with a little bit of sage to lighten the tone. So I've drawn the mother bear, and up there in the right-hand side of this, I've actually drawn a little baby bear. This is before I finally went, no. That's, you'll see, I kind of changed the shape of the bear here. I'm looking for a little different look than what I originally drew. So here I go, and I'm carefully outlining this bear with brown colors. And that is a Van Dyke brown. Just trying to get the main shape in here. And there we go. And that's right-hand corner is where the baby bear was, and I just kind of obliterate that with more stencil. So there you can see the Van Dyke brown on the left, and I'm adding green into it. So I'm getting a nice color and some harmony there to pull that brown into some of the stenciling. So there's a lot of synergy or harmonizing between the bear and the background. Just pulls the colors together. So you're going to see me futz here with stenciling. I do quite a bit of stenciling in this project until I get it the way I want it. Bringing in more white highlights here, and also that pale sage. Putting that light color next to the bear because I'm going to darken the bear up and I want some contrast there. So he's going to be a nice dark brown, and then I'll have that lighter sage color next to him, which will create the contrast that I'm looking for to attract the viewer's eye. More sage green and lemon yellow. I'm going to mix them together here. This color adds a lot of warmth, I think, to the painting. And if you're watching that, those brush strokes, just looking at the up and down of the paintbrush, you can see why it kind of pretty well smushed that brush. The brush tip there, yeah. It's going to be a stenciling brush from here on out. So I'm trying to bring warmth into the foreground with this color, and I've done that. And I'm still not quite as happy as I want to be, so I dry, and here we go with much stronger contrast with, I'm using that heavy-bodied white right out of the tube and laying it down. I want detail, and that's what buys me the detail I'm looking for, is that heavy-bodied paint right out of the tube. You can see my process, I think, in this video is that I don't have all of this fully planned from the beginning. That's not the kind of artist that I am. I know a lot of artists plan out a lot more than I typically do. I try to take a look at this and see how I feel about it. So I've gotten quite satisfied with the background by this point, and you can see I'm filling in the bear with deeper brown colors. I've painted in his snout, and so I'm going to lay a little bit of contrast here along his side, and I'll put some paws and legs on him and color in baby bear here. Going to dry her so that I can add baby bear in there. Then I'm adding some more, a darker contrast
along the side so that baby bear and mama bear kind of contrast a little bit with each other so you can distinguish between the two. And there we go. This is the final project. I decided to ground mama and baby bear on a surface. Not quite sure what that is, but kind of in my mind, it was kind of like a weathered log that their tree trunk or whatever that's fallen and they're sitting on it. So this is the final project. And like I said, it's hanging in baby's room. And we're still waiting for the baby at this time, but it won't be long. So hope you enjoyed this video. Um, please hit like. Please give me feedback, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you think about these tutorials, how they can be improved, what you liked, what you didn't like. Feel free. I'm very open to feedback. And until next time, hope you enjoy your painting. Hope you learned something here you can use in your own work. And we will see you soon.